Hi, this is Emily from emilywolf.net, and today I'm going to be sharing a video about how I create a Project Life spread using both the Project Life app and Photoshop to do kind of a hybrid type of scrapbooking. I've already created the Project Life spread on my iPhone 6 Plus in the Project Life app, and now I'm airdropping it to my laptop so I can do some editing in Photoshop. I drag and drop the files into Photoshop so I can begin editing. And I'm going to start with my first page, or the left-hand side page. Now the first thing I need to do is add a date, which is the date we went to this playground. So I'm going to go ahead and add that here, and I use just random fonts. I'm really interested in fonts, and I'm also very indecisive. So my Project Life spreads are not cohesive as far as fonts go, but that doesn't really bother me as long as one spread is cohesive. So I've added the date, and I've used a font called Hoodie and Sweatpants that I like. It's a handwritten font. And now I am using the Eyedropper tool to select a red from the slide so I can just make the reds match my photos a little bit better. Then I use the paint bucket tool to change the background colors on 3 of the cards here. And I zoom in here so I can change the reds on these, which isn't necessarily the most important thing because you can hardly tell that they don't match exactly. But since I've got the color picked out and ready to go, I just go ahead and do those changes real quick. And I did get pretty anal about it and do the little pieces, which sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It just kind of depends on the card itself. When I had zoomed in on the card with the feathers, I noticed that it wasn't pure black. So I'm just changing the font color so it's that same color, just so it's a little bit more matchy. Once again, it's such a subtle change that it's really not that necessary, but it's an easy, quick fix, so I went ahead and did that. One of the things that bothered me about this layout was this block of wood on this scrapbooking card here. And ideally, I would have just liked it to have been at the bottom, so it kind of creates a boxed off look for the spread. So that's what I'm doing here, is I am attempting to flip that box so that wood is on the bottom instead of on the top. I took a really roundabout way of doing this. It took me several minutes to do this, and I realized afterwards that there was a much easier way to do it. And I also think it might actually be possible to flip the card in the Project Life app itself. I didn't try it, but I would definitely look into that if that's something you're wanting to do for a Project Life spread. So basically what I did was I flipped the canvas vertically and then copied it and pasted it as a new layer. And then I added a layer mask, inverted it, and then erased back just the part that I wanted, which was the white and wood card. It takes me a little while because I did this using the touchpad on my laptop. It would have probably been faster if I had used my Wacom tablet and pen, but I didn't have it on hand at the time, so this takes me a little bit longer. And as you can see on that left-hand side red card, I went over a little bit, but since I'm using a layer mask, that's not really a big deal because I will just erase that back here in a few minutes by switching my brush back to a black brush instead of a white brush. After I get the entire card revealed, I have to move it down to the spot where I want it, which I will be doing here in just a second. I hit the V button on the keyboard, that's the move tool, and move the white and wood card down to where I actually want it. And then I erase the parts that are overlapping the other cards. Also, in this spot, I am nudging the card up a little bit so it's more level with the other cards. And then I just double check and make sure that that move was something I really wanted, which I do like it better. I think it makes more of a boxed off look. So I kept it that way. And then my next step after that is to add my journaling through adding a text box. So I zoom in here and then I hit T on my keyboard and that brings up the text tool. And if you drag a shape, you can make a square or a rectangle, whatever shape that you want. And then when you start typing within it, your text stays within the constraints of that text box, which is really nice for these cards because you don't want your text to go all over the place. And in the Project Life app, this happens for you. Like it stays on the card for you, so it's easier to add your text on there if you're so inclined. I like adding my text in Photoshop because I like to play with fonts and I like to play with different sizes and different colors and all of that. So I just feel like Photoshop gives me more of a freedom to play than the Project Life app does. So that's why I do that. And then I think I'm done at this point with this left-hand side of the spread, this page. So I'm just giving it a once over to double check everything, make sure my spelling is good, my date's correct, the colors are good, all of that, before I change over to the right-hand side, or the right-hand layout. As you can see here, I kind of have a little bit of a different color palette on this right-hand side page, but I don't really mind because all the cards are from the same Project Life kit, and they're supposed to be matchy anyway. But I'm just going to kind of tweak them a little bit here to make them match my photos better, match the other side better, match my style better. So I'm just kind of playing around here. I changed the color of the little heart to match the reds. I changed the A to a red. The next thing I kind of play with is the golds to see if I want to change the gold color in that left-hand 3x4 card. But after I do it, I realize it looks too dark. It's really not that gold looking. It was better before, so I undid that. And then now I'm going to see if I can move that kind of light aqua color over to that other card. And when I do that, it changes my whole entire background to that color. And that's definitely not what I was going for. So I decided to take the gray, the light gray from that left-hand card and change my adventure card to a gray instead of that blue. And I think that matches better anyway because I don't really have any other aqua blues anywhere, and so gray is more of a neutral color that just in general matches the whole layout better. And then I just went in and fine-tuned it and changed all of the insides of the letters and everything to that gray, so it matched. The next thing I decided was that I just really didn't like the yellow text on the gray background, or just in general. That gold yellow is not really my most favorite color. And so I just decided to go ahead and change that and add the word adventure myself in the matching text from the left-hand side spread. And then also in that matching dark black, like not quite black, but that dark brown color, just to kind of tie things together a little bit more. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm adding the word adventure back to that card, but in my own style. The next thing that I do here is I decided that I wanted to add in a stamp of some kind. And I thought maybe bringing in a little circle, like that Our Stories circle, would be a nice thing to tie the layout together. And so I went into my brushes and I just started looking through. I have a lot of brushes from Ali Edwards Story Kits, and then I have a few from Elise Blaha Crepe. They're a little bit older stamps that she had made digital. So I played around with a couple different ones here. I ended up settling on one of Elise's round stamps that says Rad, just because the one I had previously picked up from Ali actually the words were just too matchy. It said something about being loved, and the black card on the top says you are loved. And so I just didn't really want to repeat the same wording again. So I changed it to this Rad stamp, which I liked. But then, of course, after I did that, I didn't really like the placement. And so I just kind of started playing around with that. And playing around with the colors a little bit, changing them just to kind of see what looked better. And I eventually ended up going back to the original position that I had it, which I'm still not 100% sold on, but this isn't about perfection. I like it. It makes me happy, the layout, so I'm good with that. So I left it there. Now the next thing I'm doing is basically putting my layouts side by side just so I can see them together as one cohesive spread and just make sure that everything looks good and that I like everything how it is. I don't want to make any extra changes. So that's what I'm doing here. And after a few seconds, I realized that I had the pages switched. The left-hand page was on the right-hand side, and so that had to be fixed just so I could see it more like how it's going to actually look when I print them and put them in my album. So that's what I'm doing, is switching them back so that the sides are on the correct side. And then I just kind of look at them, see how I feel about the layout altogether, and even though some of the parts don't tie together, like the left-hand side has no gold, the right-hand side has no wood, I still just really like the overall feel of the layout, and so I decide that it looks good, I'm done, and I'm ready to print them and get them into my album. So I gotta save them and then close them out and I'm done. And there you have it. That's how I kind of do my hybrid process of scrapbook life pages. If you have any questions, just leave a comment. Thanks. Bye.